Friday, everybody. Sean Miller, Jim Williams here with you, and it's a big weekend. It's the third place game and the championship game for the World Cup, and both of them should be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested to see what's going to happen with that third place game because usually it's pretty high scoring, and it's in the summer, so I'll usually watch it because there's nothing else. There's not any games in for 6 weeks, but now there's games on Tuesday and Wednesday. And I would expect the Morocco team is banged up. Croatia's probably, I can't imagine Modric is going to play, some of these other guys. So it could be a chance for some of the people that didn't get a chance to play too much to play, which is cool. I think, let the players who, the kind of the people that were in the squad and maybe, they sacrificed just as much as everybody else and didn't get as much playing time here. So, I always think it's a time to maybe let some of those players play. Obviously, third place is big, the medal, and it's important for both countries. If Croatia medals two tournaments in a row, if Morocco medals for the first time ever as an African country, it's important, I think. So, but it's going to be a game, and then Sunday's game is obviously,
Let me ask you about the defensive side. Both of these teams are relatively defensive-minded. Does that, you'd mentioned earlier that this game normally is kind of a high-scoring affair. Do you expect that this game will be more defensive-oriented simply because that's the way they play?
I think, when you're trying to win a World Cup, you got to do it any way you can. So now all of a sudden, if you look at the over in this game, it's 2.5. The over is -114. The over is actually favored. I think now in this game, it's just like, what, we can just play. We're not playing to win a World Cup. We can just actually go out and play. So I think it'll actually be a pretty interesting game. Morocco's they got a lot of players banged up defensively. So look, I always people are so focused on the final, obviously, 'cause it's such a big final, but it's the same as the Olympics. Sometimes people don't really worry about that third place game, but look, I mean, you get a medal, and it's to win your last game. Only two teams get to win their last game at the World Cup. And after once the knockout stage starts. So
you brought up the point that basically it's like making the podium, right? I mean, you want to be there to be considered the third best team in the biggest tournament in all of soccer. So
there's
and like you said, Morocco. I mean, if they could pull it off, that would be a stunning. That'd put them in the record books right there and there, and the history book.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's like 195, 206, depending on where what you talk, is certain things a state or whatever. There's 200. We'll just say 200. There's 200 countries on the planet. To finish third out of 200 in a tournament that only happens every 4 years is an amazing accomplishment.
Right.
I think, more so for, Croatia, who is, 4 million people once again, to finish. If they finish second and third at back-to-back tournaments, there's not too many better accomplishments than that in the history of the tournament outside of, teams winning it, obviously.
Right.
And for Morocco to do this and become, the first African team to get there, it's an important game. People won't really kind of look at it, but I'll watch it because it's a game, and it's to me there's only 2 games left at the World Cup.
Right.
The other thing, I mean, just the Super Bowl. You think about the Super Bowl or the national championship basketball game, and how many people like those things happen every year.
Mm-hmm.
This is
people forget, Sean. Back in the day, we're talking about the 50s and 60s. There was an NFL championship game, but there was also an NFL game of the two teams that finished second place.
Yep.
And so, and then, can you imagine this? And then there was the NFL, the team in the summertime. The first preseason game was the winner of that year's NFL championship playing the college all-stars in Chicago.
About that. That's it.
So, I can't even begin to imagine that. But
imagine if last year the Chiefs played the 49ers for third place.
Right. How about that?
That
would have been a pretty wild. That might have been better than the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I think the other thing is too, these guys get you get money.
Yes.
It's not, you talk about the, some of these clubs, FIFA's paying the Premier League clubs for, I think it's 25,000, whatever it is. It's there's, I know Manchester United picked up about like 3 million. So, it's just more than that. If Morocco wins this game, they're going to go down in history as the greatest African team to ever play the game.
Right.
Hey, Diggs, how's it going? So it's pretty interesting to think about.
Hey, Diggs, good to see you, buddy. Are there? You've been looking over this. Are there any interesting props on this one?
On the Saturday game?
Yeah.
The over is pretty interesting at, basically even money. Because when you think about it, this over should be nowhere near 2.5. And because, just the way the teams played. And all of a sudden, there it is. And you're just like, well, what is that? That kind of tells me something. Let's see what we got here. Player specials. Just depends. I'd like to see the lineup, but, Ivan Perisic to give an assist is pretty decent money at plus 24, plus 350, looks like. It's just depending on who plays. If one of the teams goes with a full strength team, you can get some pretty decent value on some of them. Luka Modric to get an assist is pretty good there. Let's see what else we got. Usually these games, the cards, the cards in the final are going to be a lot more. They don't usually play as hard here. It's more like an NBA All-Star game.
Right.
So
defense is optional.
Yeah, that's kind of why. Ball possession by Croatia is pretty interesting. Under 60.5% is minus 167. So there's some decent lines. I think. I would probably favor Croatia in this game. Just a more talented team. Morocco's so banged up, but you just can't. You can't
overlook them.
Yeah, you can't underestimate them. Obviously, a lot of people have done that all tournament.
Do that at your own peril.
That's correct.
All right. Well, here is the big one. Argentina and France. We got the Messi, Mbappe. We got stars littered all over the field on this one.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because this is France's fourth final since since the USA World Cup. They've been to the '98 final and won it. They won the Euro 2000 tournament.
Right.
They went to the 2006 final and lost in penalties to Italy. They went to the 2016 Euro final. They won the 2018 World Cup. They won the 2021 Nations League, and now they're in the 2022 World Cup final. Argentina was in the final in 2014 and lost in extra time to Germany. In fact, so this is Argentina's fifth final. They lost in 1930. They won in 78 and 86. They lost in 90. And since they won the tournament in 86 in Mexico, Argentina has been knocked out of the tournament every year by European competition.
Huh.
They were knocked out by the French in 2018 in the round of 16, probably the best game of the tournament, but 4-3. But yes, they've been knocked out by competition every time. France's only loss in a final was to European competition. So anytime they've played someone from South America, who beat Brazil 3-0 in 1998. So there's that.
Well, last time I checked, France is in Europe, so
That's correct.
not for nothing. But I don't know. We both have favored France. Obviously, Argentina could win. There's no reason to say they couldn't.
Oh yeah, no, very good team.
But how much of a favorite is France at this point?
I mean, when you're looking at the
line, yeah.
odds, I mean, it's even. It's dead even. You know, the right now it's Argentina. Actually, Argentina is a slight favorite now, plus 175. France plus 190, and draw is plus 205. So people are starting to back Argentina a little bit.
Putting some money on the Argentine team.
Yeah, it's pretty even.
That might very well change between now and do you have that? You know what that might be? That might be people concerned about that flu that was going through the French, team earlier in the week. Maybe they're thinking, oh, wait a minute, something out there that could cause some grief here.
Yeah, it's interesting. If everybody's healthy for France, it's a pretty. I would be worried about the back four. People aren't really worried about the back four of Argentina, which I don't understand, because Mbappe is going to get after Molina. And, I'm not really sold on Romero and Otamendi as a partnership. I think Varane and whoever plays with them, Konate was awesome the other day, and Upamecano has been good, are better there, but, still, a little bit fragile sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sold on the Argentina midfield. I don't know how good DePaul is. McAllister's okay. Tchouameni, Rabiot will be back. I mean, he was a big miss in that game. I thought, he'll be rested. He obviously been sick, but he'll have gotten some rest. And then you got, if Di Maria comes back in, Di Maria, Messi, Alvarez, very formidable, obviously, but Dembele, Griezmann, Mbappe, and Giroud is arguably, just as good. So, the way I see it, just to me, it looks like France is just a little bit better. I mean, just a shade better, but it's really close.
Do you think this thing could come down to penalty kicks?
It could. I don't think it will, to be honest. I think it'll.
Something's gonna win it outright.
I think it'll be settled in regular time, to be honest. I think it's going to be one of those games. I think there's goals in it. So Diggs is watching over on Twitch, so I appreciate it, Diggs. Thanks for watching. I love the Twitch streamers. We got to get some more on here. Diggs, if you got any ideas how to get us some views on Twitch, let me know, because I'm definitely interested in that.
They do a nice job on Twitch of making sure that people know we're there, so that's always nice.
Yes,
it definitely makes it a little easier. All right, let's slide over and talk, if you want to, about NFL Network Saturday. They've got a triple header. First game is Colts Vikings, and the Vikings, who already pretty much have nailed down the North Division in the NFC, I believe they can clinch it with a win over the Colts.
Yes.
So
49ers clinched last night.
Sorry?
The 49ers clinched last night with
right.
With the thing. I believe they will. Yes, they basically clinched it already, because they're 4 games up with 4 games to play. They beat
Well, the Colts really haven't been playing that well.
Yeah, they split with the Lions, so that's kind of why the Vikings haven't necessarily clinched the division, but they will at this point. The Colts, 4-8-1. They've been struggling. They've been banged up. They have some. They hired Jeff Saturday, and they beat Vegas, but they're 1-6 in the last 7, and they lost that tough game to Philly. Then they lost to a bad Pittsburgh team, and then they got annihilated by Dallas. So I think this is a bad spot for the Colts here. Minnesota is pretty good at home.
Well, and you also have. I mean, I think Kirk Cousins really has a mission to show that perhaps he's been underrated and deserves a better press, I guess would be the best way of putting it. And taking a national game and beating the Colts and establishing yourself and clinching it this way would certainly go a long way to prove that he can't win the big one.
Yeah, that's right. I just think, I think it could be. I looked at this game originally as maybe a money line play, but I think you probably just got to go with the Vikings on the spread at this point.
Here's the 4:00 game, which is technically 4:30. Browns Ravens. This is a ground game. You got 2 teams that are going to run the ball. This might be the shortest game in the NFL this year, as far as time is concerned. The Browns have no interest in throwing it, although they will occasionally, and the Ravens pretty much only throw the tight ends. So, and they had to check and make sure they get their second-string quarterback back for the game tomorrow. Out of concussion protocol, so they will.
I looked at the injury report, what's his name? Jackson is listed as questionable, and now he's listed as out. He didn't go through the walkthrough, but there's the see that last here. Huntley practiced. So Jackson is out. Huntley practiced Tuesday and Wednesday. So
yeah, I think Huntley's going to play. I mean, he is a small economy size, Lamar Jackson. I mean, he does pretty much the same thing Lamar does. They do. The Ravens play the run pass option. That's pretty much their shtick. Now, Huntley came in a couple games last year, and when Lamar was hurt, and did a pretty good job. But I don't know what to make of the Browns. I swear to God, I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean they should be a lot better, but not. I think the whole thing. Watson's clearly rusty. Obviously, probably they need him to kind of just. It's interesting though. They're 5-8 with Baltimore at home, New Orleans at home, Washington away, and Pittsburgh at home. Like, it's not out of the question that they could finish the year 9-8. I mean,
right.
It's not out of the question. I said that the other day, and someone was looking at me like I had 3 heads, and I'm just like, this Baltimore team, look, you just don't know. I mean, it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I mean, one turnover could change the game. If they beat Baltimore and New Orleans at home and get to 7-8, all of a sudden that Washington game becomes a massive game for both teams.
Right.
So, it's weird because when you look at um, the standings here and the playoff race, you know, New England's 7-6 with a tough game. The Chargers are 7-6. The Jets are 7-6 with a tough game. Jacksonville's 5-8. Cleveland's 5-8. Raiders are 5-8. All of a sudden, like, you know, if you get to 9 wins, I don't know. I mean, you might have a chance. The Dolphins got to go to Buffalo. All of a sudden, they're 8-6. 6-8, 8-6. There's not much between that. So, um,
Yeah, the Dolphins Bills are prime time, and that should be definitely worth the time to watch. Those are probably the two best teams in the East.
yeah, it's going to be like a couple inches of snow on the ground. I think Dolphins are going the wrong direction here. Buffalo looks like they're clearly going the right direction. They've turned it around. They had the 2 losses to the Jets and the Vikings by 3 points each. In the middle of 2 4-game winning streaks. So they're 8-2 in their last 10, and could have been 10-0. So it's just pretty interesting. The narrative about the Bills right now. I mean, they're 8 points away from being unbeaten. They lost. Or 11 points. They lost to Miami by 2 points, the Jets by 3 points, and Minnesota by 3 points. So, they're this close. I just think they're kind of turning it in the right direction. And same thing with them. They got Miami at home in the snow. They got the Bears away, which is an inch. They should win that. New England at home to end the season. And then, that game on January 2nd against Cincinnati is probably a massive game for seeding. Obviously,
Right.
if Cincinnati and Buffalo both go into that game with 3 losses and 4 losses, all of a sudden that's a huge game because Cincinnati wins that at night on Monday night. They have the tiebreaker. So
It's I just did a quick check of the radar and what's coming up in Buffalo tomorrow night. They're in a snow warning where they could get up to 1 to 2 feet of snow in and wind during game time. So that's not exactly what I would think a team that practices in South Florida and plays in South Florida really wants to hear is blowing snow in Buffalo. So that will make for a very pretty Saturday night backdrop, but it's not going to make for a very fun opportunity to play football.
Yeah, I'll be excited to watch the game. The Saturday games. The other thing too is it's interesting because some of the other games are all right. There's all the bowl games as well. So it's it's a big day of football. So
yeah, I mean there's some decent college basketball as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's a little bit of everything for whatever you want to do. You're going to have an opportunity to do it. Let's touch on real quick, since we have a little time. Go back and touch on Argentina, France. What do you see coming out of here? You said from a standpoint of who were the players. Are there any players? Let me put it this way. I'll try to make the question actually coherent. Are there any players on either side that have not yet shown themselves that you think could come out of this and suddenly you look up and go, wait a minute, I knew this kid was a star, but they came through in the clutch?
I already talked about Adrian Rabiot, who United was linked with in the summer before they got Casemiro. I think he's been a monster, and I think they missed him a little bit in that semifinal. Not that they still won 2-0, but he's been really, really good. When you look at some of the France players, Obviously, Jules Koundé is going to get a move at some point. Tchouameni's been phenomenal, but he's already playing for Real Madrid as a teenager, so you can't really kind of say much about him. He's been really good. Griezmann's shown himself to be a little bit of a playmaker. He may get a move from Atletico Madrid. He's basically turned himself from the top scorer at the Euros in 2016 to, the sister and all this goal scorer in the 2018 World Cup. And now he's been like a 10 playmaker. So he's been really, really good. I think that, him, most of the other players have already gotten their moves from France. When you look at Argentina or Croatia, in that game, obviously Vardiol is going to go for 100 million. He had a really good tournament up until that semifinal. I thought he got exposed a little bit in that game. Livakovic, the keeper for Croatia, very good. Amrabat from Morocco was good in the semi, all the way through. He's going to get a move. And then when you look at Argentina, finally, Enzo Fernandez is going to get a big move for a lot of money. The midfielder, he's going to go somewhere, either Real Madrid or Liverpool or something like this. Alvarez is already on City. Emiliano Martinez, the keeper, is at Aston Villa. I think he'll go somewhere else. I think he's a little too good for that team, to be honest. Some of the players on Argentina, they haven't really played a lot of the younger guys except for Julian Alvarez. So. The next generation for Argentina is already playing for Manchester United. So, yeah, there's some players that have gotten some moves, I think, from the tournament.
Yeah, Poland's Seisman Marchak is going to be the referee on.
They gave it to the. Okay.
Yeah, he will be the Cup final referee. Some other quick headlines: the FIFA Beach Soccer World Cup is destined for Dubai. And then the Seychelles, which, the Seychelles is kind of cool, but that's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's not that a lot of people be flying over, but if they did.
Today, Gianni Infantino just announced today that the Club World Cup is going to be starting in 2025, I think he said, 2025 or 2023. It's going to be 32 teams. That's usually they have it every year. Now they're going to have it every 4 years. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. But yeah. So he's a good ref, this Simon Marciniak. So won't take any nonsense. He refereed France, Denmark. I think he refereed both teams one time. But
yeah, he's seen them both. So. There'll be no shenanigans going on the pitch on Sunday.
Yeah.
Overall, your thoughts of the tournament?
I think it's been amazing. I know there's all the stuff off the field and everything, and
taking the political side out of it.
It's hard to do now because everything in the world is politicized. Right. But when you take all that stuff out and everything, the tournaments, the play on the field has been great. I think the fact that it's played in the middle of the season has, people are going to complain about that. Look, it hasn't. I think we'll see effects in February, March when players start breaking out because they're tired. But for this, they came in really good shape, and it's just. Been really, it's been amazing. It's one of the best ones I've seen. 2018 one was really, really high.
Right.
But this one, for all the upsets and everything, I think will go down in history, and people will kind of remember this. Once it's hard because when you read this stuff, everything is slanted and politicized and stuff like that. But if you just talk about the actual games and the play on the field, it's been fantastic.
Yeah. To your point about the players being in shape, I think that's one of the reasons that in the Winter Olympics that hockey's been so good is because the leagues have been up and playing for a while, and so
Yeah,
everybody's in shape, and you know they don't have to spend a lot of time working out because they've already played 30 games into the season.
I 100% agree. I mean, obviously, look, you can't. I don't think you can stop this thing every year, stop
Mhm.
the league. But the way that it ended up working out, I mean, it was just doom and gloom before it, and it hasn't been doom and gloom. It's been the play on the field has been fantastic. Um, there's been enough Cinderella stories, but look, I mean, it's two of the biggest teams in the world, obviously playing. They've each been to two of the last three finals here, so it's not any surprise. But I mean, before the tournament started, my bracket once again was my semifinals was
Mhm.
France and I don't even know, it was either Portugal or Spain, and I think it was Portugal, France, Portugal, and Brazil, Argentina, and it was a coin flip. And I knew France was going to go, but it was a coin flip, and the
Mhm.
other team took Brazil. But you know, to have Argentina and France in is no surprise.
Mhm.
I think everybody kind of would have.
You know, we always have this thing of the Cinderella making it to the dance and all that, and that's lovely. But at the end of the day, most sports fans want to see the two best teams play.
I don't. I when I watch, you just think about it. Like Butler made back-to-back NCAA
Right.
finals, and the games were terrible. Like the
Right.
finals were terrible. They're terrible finals.
Hmm.
First of all, Duke won, so that was the worst. But the game wasn't very. It was just a.
No,
They
it
I think
wasn't competitive.
it was Butler UConn, right? The next one, that
Yeah.
game was
Mhm.
atrocious. It was
Mhm.
atrocious. It was terrible to watch. I don't want to. I want to see North Carolina Gonzaga going up and down the field or up and down
Right.
the court. Like, I don't want to see. Like, nobody wants to see UTSA and Troy. And hey, listen, that's a great game today. Playing in
Right.
the national championship game, they never get there, but like
Right.
you know, I want to see France and France and England. I
Mhm.
want to see it's not even even in like the knockout stage. Like, look, every once in a while it's good to see these teams go through. But I mean, you see what happens here. Croatia got through instead of Brazil, and that game was terrible.
Mhm.
If it was Argentina Brazil, that game would have been immense.
Mhm.
It was a terrible game. France and Morocco. Look, I mean, there were some moments, but it wasn't a good game. I mean, France was never really trying.
Down. Yeah. Well, they
Um,
scored what 5 minutes in the game.
yeah, exactly. Another game was over after in the first half.
Mhm.
If it was Portugal and France and Brazil and Argentina, man, those
Mhm.
games would have been phenomenal. But like, it is what it is. But I agree. Like this people talk about the Cinderella of the FA Cup all the time, and Wigan beating Manchester City in 2013 was after United won the league. Was amazing. I mean, it was they scored in the 89th minute. I still watch the header. It was the greatest
Mhm.
upset of ever. And then Wigan got relegated, right? And we haven't seen him since.
Right.
And but for every one of those, you know, it's Manchester City 6-0 in the final against like Watford, or you got Bradford City made a final and got smoked 5-0 by Swansea, or for every one of those, it's something like that. You had that little period. Birmingham City beat Arsenal. Well, most of the time it's ugly. So if Argentina would play Morocco in the final, or France played Croatia. Look, we saw France Croatia in 2018. Croatia's 4 years older.
Mhm.
It would have been the same game.
No, you do. You want to see the best, and fairly or unfairly, it's hard sometimes for people to watch MLS games because they're not competitive.
I have my issues with watching those games. Everyone's always like, man, you watch. Yeah, Foxy. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. I don't. I thought it was going to be actually the 4 different champions, Foxy. Like it was going to be the 4 Champions League winners and the 4 winners of each continent was going to go into this tournament. That's actually how I thought it was going to be, but I'm not sure. So if it's like that, I have no issue with it. Yeah, it's you get this in baseball or basketball, you get some upset sometimes because over the course of 5 games and more so in baseball because pitching or whatever.
Right.
I think in basketball, most of the time, the better team is going to win a long series. It doesn't happen all the time, but but in a one game, it's not always it's tough. You get those weird upsets, but over the course of spread out,
right,
games, 6 games, an NCAA tournament or something like that. Usually, I mean, the NCAA tournament is a perfect example. There's upsets every year, and you're just a 5 loses to a 12. Now, like every year, it's that used to be like the go-to and the thing. Now the 12s win every year. I mean, I think 2 years ago the 12s were like 3-1 against 5s. It's just the way it is. But when you look at the last 15 national championships, like 13 of them are 1 seeds. Like 20, like 17 are 1 seeds. Like it's just like it's a top seed to win the tournament. It's not North Carolina last year, would have been as an 8 seed, but they lost to Kansas. It was a 1. I mean, Baylor was a 1. Baylor and Gonzaga were 1s the year before. It's just at the end of the tournament, the best teams are usually there.
And when you get 4 1s, right? Because you've got regions, there's a pretty damn good chance one of those 4 1s you're going to win the tournament. They didn't get that top seed in the region for nothing. So
yeah, I was at the Final Four when the only time all 4 1 seeds got there was in San Antonio, North Carolina, UCLA, Memphis, and Kansas.
That's fine. I was at the same tournament.
Oh, okay. I was there. They gave away a new. I was at the national. They gave away a new National Player of the Year award, and I was there, and I was like the only one there with Tyler Hansbrough and Bruce Pearl. They're like, hey, we're giving away this new national award. Do you want to come in? I was like, sure. And I like nobody was there. It was like crazy. I was like, hey, I was talking to Tyler Hansbrough and Bruce Pearl is great, and I think it's one of the ones now that's kind of like got big and
bigger. Yeah,
my tickets. I had tickets to the final, and I sold it. I remember I sold it for like $800 because Memphis was in it for the first time in forever, and I watched it on a bar in the Riverwalk by myself. My whole trip was paid for. I actually made money, so I tried to buy a ticket at the last minute, but I didn't really care because North Carolina was out. Then I went the next year to Detroit, so.
I was there working with CBS, and I actually still have my jacket. They provide the tournament people provided gave us these really cool baseball jackets with the Final Four logo and the teams in the Final Four logo. So it's Final Fours are pretty interesting stuff, and we have a Final Four this weekend in soccer. Tomorrow, Morocco and Croatia. Then the championship game, Argentina and France on Sunday, and that will put close the book on what what everybody was a World Cup that everybody seemed to be dreading, but now seems to be liking. So, sometimes you just have to play it out and see what happens.
The problem is with all this stuff, and obviously I understand the irony of what I'm about to say as I'm a media person, but and there's nothing to do. There's no games to write about in the lead up to it. So everything is just about the negative. I mean, and look, I mean, we'll be like, you know, so much of the media is, especially in other countries, you know, here there's positive pieces sometimes, but you know, some of it's so much, you know, Foxy will tell you when you read, you know, the media in England, it's just they just want to tear everything down, they build them up to tear them down. And it's just, you know, there's nothing to do right. So they rate these things and everybody wants to try to like get views and, big up everybody. But then once the games start, you know, a lot of that stuff starts to drift away. And look, I mean, I'm not saying once again, like you should be reporting on the fact that, you know, 5,000 people died building these stadiums. I think that's, you know, embarrassing, and you know that you know should never happen in the 21st century in a civilized, you know, world and stuff like that. It's not the thing that economics and all that stuff is whatever, but you know, when you just want to talk about, you know, as a football writer or soccer writer, whatever you call it, and you want to talk about the actual games, and when there's nothing you can say. I mean, it's like 95% positive. This tournament's been fantastic, and on the pitch, you know, I mean, look, people complain about the referees and the thing and all this stuff, but you know, it's a lot of it's after the fact. Like, you know, I complain about that in every game. So
I grew up as a disciple of Roone Arledge, and Arledge was the genius at creating up close and personal. His theory of the case was, and it was a good one, how can I get you to watch something if you don't understand or know somebody in it? And so his creations were, you know, how many people do you think in the 1960s and early 70s would have known who Nadia Comaneci, you know, a Bulgarian gymnast, you know, who would have known her? Who would have known, you know, some of these, you know, outstanding U.S., you know, players? I mean, the goal with Arledge was always to, if I want an audience, I need to get them invested in who these people are, you know? And I think that was, you know, the writers here, the great ones like Dick Schaap, and Jim Murray out in Los Angeles, and, you know, some of the outstanding writers in New York and Philly, they picked up on that concept, the concept of making it personal. And, you know, does that mean that they didn't attack them from time to time? No, of course it does. But they, you know, there was not the concept of just ripping everybody to pieces.
Yeah,
that's become more of a, I hate to say it, but something more of a new thing of everybody diving in and wanting to analyze something when they don't know a damn thing what they're talking about.
That's right.
But that's another conversation for another day. That's me fighting the Major League Baseball Writers Association for not knowing, you know, who to put in the Hall of Fame. But again, another argument, another day. Any final thoughts before we get out here on a cold, but at least the sun's out. Friday afternoon here, or Friday morning here in the Baltimore, D.C. area.
Nah, just ready for a big weekend of games here, so it should be good.
Well, we will be moving on. And all right. For Sean Miller, follow him on the Prodigal Sean right there. And I'm Jim Williams. And, you know, guys, come on back. We want to see y'all. Diggs, Foxy, everybody, bring friends. And we'll see you come Monday when we can talk about what happened on Saturday and Sunday. So until then, gang, we hope that you have a safe and enjoyable weekend. And we will be back and see you on Monday. Okay? All right.